Hey, y'all, each week on The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, we ask big questions and share hot takes about the pop culture we love.
Now that we have YouTube, we don't need any more biopics. If they've been alive such that I can watch them on YouTube, I don't need it.
I don't think that music is getting worse. I think y'all just don't listen to artists who aren't in the mainstream.
Taylor Swift, retire. It's time to retire.
The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube.
I internalized the hatred that was heaped upon me by the church and society. And then I took over their job for them. And for the next 40 years, wielded that viciously against myself.
This is Life in 7 Songs from the San Francisco Standard. I'm Sophie Behrman. This week, I'm sitting down with the singer, songwriter, and musician John Grant. John made a name for himself with his 2010 debut album, Queen of Denmark, which gained widespread critical acclaim. John is known for his distinctive baritone voice and songs that blend alt-rock, folk, and synth pop, among other genres. He is also known for his brutal honesty in his lyrics and in interviews about his experiences growing up gay in a conservative religious household. John has navigated a tumultuous life, battling addiction, illness, and self-hatred, but he's managed to find salvation through music, the kindness of others, and small, beautiful moments. As a heads up, this episode contains discussions of suicide and some explicit language. John, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Sophie. It's a pleasure.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your relationship with your own music. What are you striving to say, to create with your music?
I feel like an infant in the world of music. You know, I feel like I'm still getting my bearings and still, figuring out my voice. I feel like I'm moving in the right direction and getting better with each record. But I feel like I'm trying to create the feeling of everyday life, of just one human being. It's about moments for me. When I talk about in the song Boy from Michigan, we used to look to see if we could find a patch of green as the winter came to a close and spring was blossoming.
The ground was coming alive and it smelled so clean.
We would always see which one of us could find that first patch of green because the snow was there all winter long. It started to stick in October, and I remember we'd be in a classroom and we'd be like, it's sticking, the snow's sticking. And that was the most exciting thing. And then it would be there until March or April. And that first little patch of green, and the earth smelled so beautiful and clean as it emerged from the snow all wet. And we just played outside all day long.
And we is you and your siblings?
Friends, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your family and what it was like for you growing up there.
I mean, it was sort of idyllic, going to the ice cream social in my grandmother's yard with the beautiful colored lanterns. And there were lots of orchards, fruit orchards. We would go with my mother and pick strawberries at a strawberry farm and, would get bushels of apples from the apple farm. And there was a peach farm. We had like a cousin who had a peach farm there and everything. And I remember a lot of good times at the Methodist church. The youth group going roller skating. And roller skating to me to this day is one of the greatest things in the entire world. But it was definitely small town. It wasn't super small town. There were 5,000 people in Buchanan. So it was pretty beautiful. But then there was this sort of specter hanging over me. There was always this sort of thing hanging over my head as I realized at a very young age that I was gay. And I had already gotten the message that this was not a good thing at all. Like, you're becoming something that is going to make life very difficult for you and you won't be welcome in society. It's interesting because I was getting that message not yet from the church. I was getting it from the world, like seeing the way gays were portrayed on TV. I remember watching, there was like a Jim Jones miniseries on TV where that subject came up and it was a very, very, very bad thing, And I remember my father asking me why I was so upset when I watched that. It was with Powers Booth, the actor Powers Booth playing Jim Jones. It was really good. But it scared the shit out of me at the time because I was like, oh, they're talking about me. And I didn't even really know what it was. I didn't know about sex.
And what about from your parents? That message, did they ever
I
talk
mean,
about it?
you know, my sister and I talk a lot about, we don't remember much interaction with our parents at all. You know, my father he seemed quite angry when he was young. He changed as he got older. He softened up quite a bit. But I was definitely afraid of him. I was quite sensitive, and that really had a huge impact on me. But my mother I probably got my sensitivity from her. She was an extremely sensitive person. I think she had some sort of nervous condition. My brothers were hellraisers, and I think she had a really difficult time dealing with my brothers. By the time my sister and I came along, my parents were like, they were done dealing with that shit, you know. And with my sister and I, they got a couple of real sensitive little artistic types, you know, that was probably confusing. But they gave us piano lessons, and my dad and my mom they tried to really encourage us.
Your first song, you chose ABBA's Eagle. Is that a song you associate with your childhood?
Very much so. There's this really incredible ascending glissando at the beginning of Eagle on a synth that to this day gives me goosebumps because I love it so much. And I think that might very well be the moment that I fell in love with the sound of synthesizers. I just sat right next to the record player, you know, staring at the vinyl as it spun, and it changed me. It filled me with incredible joy. But there's a melancholy in there that I think was already with me because of this specter hanging over me.
Did you know that you were gay? I mean, you may not have had that word, but did you know at that point that you were?
Yeah, for sure. I knew I was attracted to men, 100%. I must have been 9 or 10, and I was really worried about it. People were starting to say things to me as well. I remember cars of guys stopping in Buchanan and whistling at me and making weird kissy faces at me, you know, like a car of teen boys.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are they doing that? I didn't understand that. And then, you know, people saying things at school. So I was aware. I was aware of it in myself, and I was aware that seemingly everyone else could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that scared the shit out of me. But then, you know, it was something that had to be said out loud, and there were people that were threatening me, explicitly saying, I know what you're doing with the neighbor kid, and I'm going to tell everybody.
Oh my gosh. Was that a first sexual relationship, or was it a friendship, or?
It was a friendship and a sexual relationship, but I mean, I was super young. I mean, I was 8, 9. I didn't really know what we were doing, so he was probably one of the loves of my life, but I couldn't talk to him or look him in the eye after having a sexual experience with him. And he practically begged me to talk to him, and I couldn't. The last time we hung out, he handed me a letter saying, I love you, and I am not ashamed of what we are, and I don't believe that we're sick like they're telling us, and I want to be with you. And I just, I literally couldn't respond. I just sort of took the letter and disregarded it and looked away and just said whatever I had to say to get out of that room and never go back. And then I never saw him again until years later when I was working at the concession stand at the Mayan Theater in Denver, which is one of the most beautiful art house theaters in the whole world. And I was just selling popcorn and candy. And then I looked up from putting money back in the register or something, and he was standing right there in front of me. And I hadn't seen him in maybe 10 years or something like that, or probably more like 7 years. Mm-hmm. And there he was standing in front of me, and he ordered something, and I know that he knew who I was, and I recognized him, and not a word was said, and he bought what he wanted and then just walked off, and I never saw him again after that. It was sad. But I wrote a song called Mike and Julie. I say, I'm sorry. Like, are you out there? Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
It's such a rare and beautiful thing to have someone tell you that clearly, that they love you.
Truly, truly.
It doesn't happen
truly
all that much in life. So.
No. Like, you're the one I want to be with. I want us to have a life together. And that was mortifying to me.
So you mentioned living in Denver. I understand that when you were around 12 years old, your family moved to Colorado, right?
That's right.
Okay. And your next song comes into play around that time. It's Sometimes Dr. Hirsch by Yellow. Why did you pick this one?
I mean, one of the things I love more than anything in the entire world is a beautiful 4-on-the-floor beat with a driving bass synth. And what I love even more than that was driving down the highway on a warm summer night in Colorado with the scent of the Russian olive trees in the air. That was usually sort of towards the end of May, beginning of June when that happens. The scent of those flowers just fills the air as summer gets going. And driving down the highway with the windows open, blasting this song on the radio is one of the great moments of joy that I experienced in my life.
I'm wishing, I wish this would hurt, but I suffer. I can't feel the pain. Sometimes
The bum 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 bum, the triplets against that 4-on-the-floor beat. One of the most beautiful bass lines of all time. I think you'll find as we listen, it's a lot about bass lines for me. I love the bass. That's what transforms music for me. And once again, there's that melancholy that I talked about. It's definitely there in that one too.
It's a lot of anguish and longing in that one.
Yeah.
In the lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, is that resonating with what you're going through?
Yes, very much so.
You hadn't come out yet at that point. So what was life like in high school for you?
In high school, there was always, being called a faggot. I became a clown because it was as this sort of dancing clown, I could sort of maybe appease the people who would maybe hurt me. It wasn't an option for me to have to face up to it because I had already internalized the hatred that was being thrown at gay people back then. And so if anybody tried to talk to me, I'd just have a violent reaction, like, what are you talking about? Why would you think that about me? Well, I'm not, I didn't, It simply could not be my reality. By that time, I knew that the church was completely against it, and it meant excommunication. It meant losing your family. It meant being separated from God. And I believed that with all of my heart. There was no reason for me to believe that all these people were lying to me, One of the tragedies about, and something that has translated into a lot of rage inside of me, is the fact that I never once was able to stand up for myself, when being attacked physically or verbally, because I believed that I deserved to be treated that way. And that breaks my heart. There was one time that I remember that a guy came to my house and was waiting for me before I walked into my parents' house and jumped me. He had left notes on my car saying, "You're a fucking bisexual asshole." Like, they didn't even know what they were talking about either, The horrifying thing about that situation is the shame was so intense and so overwhelming that, when this guy attacked me, all of a sudden, I pissed myself. And then I walked into my house with my soaked jeans and never said a word to anybody because I knew that I had brought that on myself from being what I was. And so I think I think that high school was just survival every day. It was trying to get through the day without this subject being brought up.
Let's turn to the music for a little bit. Your next song is called Anti-World by Nina Hagen.
Yeah.
I had never heard this before. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Why'd you choose that one?
Well, this is my favorite record of all time. And I used to stand in the record store and stare at this album cover. And it was called Nun Sex Monk Rock.
All one word.
All one word. Nun Sex Monk Rock. And I was just like, what is this evil? Like, what is this horrible, but absolutely fascinated. I loved that album cover. It scared me. I mean, I was just this church-going kid who didn't know anything about the world and the real world. And I was just standing there wondering what this could possibly be. I mean, here I was singing hymns in church and stuff. And I was listening to this
Anti-World.
I mean, Anti-World especially. That's one of my favorite songs. It opened up the world to me. You know, it made me realize that there was an entire world out there of things that, incredible things that I couldn't conceive of. I mean, it gives me goosebumps.
Literally, I see them.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anything like that before or after. I mean, there's, some stuff by Yoko Ono where, that goes into
screaming,
that. Some screaming that goes into that. But nobody could do it like Nina Hagen could back in the day. I mean, this album is a masterpiece, period, in my opinion.
Maybe this is a stretch, but this song also has an entire verse in German.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then you end up moving to Germany. Was that part of what inspired that move?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what inspired me to learn German.
Oh, wow.
Nina Hagen did. I went back to her first 2 albums in the German language. The first one was called Nina Hagen Band, and the second one was called Unbehagen. I wanted to understand those lyrics, and so that's why in my senior year, when they finally offered German at the high school, I jumped at the chance, and I was really good at it. And that's one of the things that saved me. That was the most difficult year, my senior year. And that teacher sort of took me under her wing because she saw that I had a real aptitude for learning language. And she took me out to cafes a couple of times on the weekend to this like French World Cafe or something like this. And we talked about the German language. And I think she could see that I was in trouble. But that album is huge for me. It's the most important one for me. And that's really saying something because there are at least 100 albums that are the most important for me,
Coming up, John talks about hitting his darkest moment yet and the moments of kindness and the songs that saved him. Stay with us. Hey everyone, I want to recommend a podcast. Hard Knocks is a show about resilience, self-discovery, and finding meaning after chaos, hosted by Amanda Knox. Each week, Amanda sits down with fascinating guests, writers, thinkers, artists, to explore how we learn, grow, and rebuild ourselves after life knocks us down. Amanda brings humor, honesty, and hard-earned perspective to every conversation, drawing on her own experience of being wrongfully convicted and rebuilding her life. Amanda was a guest on Life in 7 Songs in one of our most moving episodes, opening up about how music became a lifeline during her years of wrongful imprisonment. On our show, she spoke candidly about turning pain into wisdom and also about how we're all so much more than our worst moments. If you liked that episode, you'll love her show, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Jesse Alejandro Cottrell.
And I'm Emily Dreyfus, and this is Pacific Standard Time.
We have stories from all over the state of California, all the big battles that are happening here.
Prop 50,
housing affordability,
tech,
and immigration.
And we're really excited to bring you the stories about how California is dealing with what it means to be alive in 2025.
Subscribe to Pacific Standard Time, a new weekly show from the San Francisco Standard.
We'll have new episodes every Wednesday starting November 19th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's talk about your next song, Dirty Water by Throwing Muses.
Yeah. They had great record stores in Germany where you could listen to everything before you bought it, which was a new thing for me. So I was always keeping up on music. I mean, a lot of, at least three Cocteau Twins albums came out while I was in Germany. And those were soundtracks to my life there. And Throwing Muses continued to release incredible albums, and Red Heaven is one of my all-time favorites. And that song Dirty Water has the most incredible just guitar thrashing in it. It was the Pixies and Throwing Muses that allowed me to access guitar for myself. because of my older brothers who were, these super all-American red-blooded studs who listened to Van Halen and Kiss and Molly Hatchet, and I didn't feel like I could access that music because of them. It was their music.
Yeah.
I felt like it was, no faggots allowed in that world. And so Pixies and Throwing Muses sort of allowed me to completely fall in love with rock. Oh man, I love this chorus so much.
Oh my gosh.
I just love it. I mean, that if I was capable of crying, that would make me cry right now. I love her voice so much, and I love that song so much. Hey, look, I'm tearing up a little bit. I can maybe squeeze a little tear out. But it's absolutely a precious diamond to me, that song. That's all I can say.
And you can't cry?
No, I can't. There's weird times like when I got up to talk at my grandmother's funeral. She was 94 when she died, and this was like 2006 or 2007. And she loomed large in our lives. She was an incredible, incredible woman. And I was the only one in my family that got up to say something. And I basically just bawled my head off through it. It's funny because people judge you for it too, I had a teacher who was quite strict. She was actually talking to somebody, and I just went up because I hadn't seen her in years, and I just wanted to say hi or something. And she was like, "Can you not see that I'm talking to somebody?" This was at my grandmother's funeral, and it's like she could have just said, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'll talk to you in a sec," or, And she was judging me for that grotesque display of emotion, 100%, at my grandmother's funeral. But my Aunt Kathy was in the front row, and she was just like, "It's okay, honey. It's okay, honey. Just keep going."
I'm glad you had glimpses of adults like your grandmother, like that teacher who brought you to the French Cafe here and there. It's so important.
Yeah, they made a difference. They saved me along with the music. I mean, the music saved me. This music that we're talking about, all this music. I mean, this brought incredible, incredible joy into my life. During those times where I thought, that I shouldn't exist. But I couldn't. I was too scared to commit suicide when I was a teenager because I didn't want to face the truth about eternity, which I was told, you're definitely going to hell, you fucking faggot, So I didn't want to be faced with the truth of what happens after death. I was too scared. And then I thought to myself, see, you're even too much of a fucking coward to kill yourself, I internalized
You weren't
that.
nice to yourself.
Well, no, I internalized the hatred that was heaped upon me by the church and society. And then I took over their job for them. And for the next 40 years, wielded that viciously against myself.
So you moved back to the U.S. in 1994. And I
That's
think
right.
your mother died shortly thereafter. Right?
Yeah. At that point, I was just going out and drinking. I was working at the theater. And I was, super promiscuous. That was my coming out. I desperately wanted to feel desired. There was a guy that I worked with years later when I lived in New York who was extremely effeminate, which was quite a turnoff to me because, that fed into the rejection that I felt because I was considered effeminate, when I was young and rejected because of that. And so I didn't really want to have anything to do with this guy. I found him annoying, and he became one of my closest friends. And he really, really, I loved him. I really loved him. He was a beautiful human being, and that really forced me to face my own homophobia. It's just so convoluted. I felt the need to go into like ex-gay therapy to try and become not gay. And also, there's a lot of shame and pain surrounding the fact that I couldn't love myself enough to keep myself from getting HIV, which was completely preventable. Because putting myself into dangerous situations was a high for me.
You're also at this time getting into pretty serious drugs and You had started making your own music with the band The Czars.
Yeah, that's when I got into cocaine, was during the Czars period. And that led to like freebasing, smoking, foils. And I started to dabble a little bit with crack. And I ended up in the emergency rooms several times thinking that I was having a heart attack. And I could see that it was gonna kill me. So I went into the hospital to see if I could get into an alcohol abuse program. And some lady came into the waiting room and was like, "Hey, folks, we're doing free STD testing today for anybody right in the next room if you." And at that point, my body was covered with these like red spots. And then she was like, "Have you been tested for syphilis?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "I'm going to fast track this for you because I think you're in trouble." And then she took me into an office and she was like, "We're going to bring in the student doctors to observe you because we don't see it get to this stage very often with people, and we want to show them, So it was a day of sort of humiliation, and I just started to get a glimpse of where things were going for me. I got into a conversation with this nurse. Turns out she was in AA, and she became my first sponsor, and that's how I got into AA.
Oh, wow.
Was that day when I found out that. And that was the beginning of me becoming sober.
Let's turn to the music.
Yeah.
You chose To the Music by Colder.
Well, that was after I got sober and I didn't know whether I was going to have a music career. I was living in New York. And this song is one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And it's got such an ultra sexy bass line. So this was part of my soundtrack, my sober soundtrack of living in New York City for the first time. Oh man, that's one of the greatest tracks ever. I'm just not even going to say in my humble opinion. I'm making a statement, with a period after it.
And the lyrics, she's all messed up, somewhere up ahead, no one cares right now. It's kind of like hopefully closing the book on that chapter of your life almost.
Yeah, it's funny, but I didn't even notice that. I hear the lyrics, but in a song like that, the vocal delivery itself, it doesn't matter what he's saying. He could be doing the phone book like people often say. I love his delivery. I love his voice. And it's just so sexy, that track.
So after you got sober, you embarked on your solo career. This was 2010.
Uh-huh.
Your album, Queen of Denmark, was a hit. How did that feel?
I mean, it was heaven. It was really, really heaven. I think, the sex and love stuff was coming to a head with a relationship that I was having during that time, which I wrote those first two albums about. So it was one of the darkest periods of my life because I finally became faced with this yawning abyss inside myself. When I was out touring at the beginning of Queen of Denmark, I was very suicidal. But there were great moments. I mean, it just kept getting better and better, I mean, geez, the reception to that record, I never could have dreamed. I was just sort of blown away. And I wasn't really ready either. I still had a lot of anxiety and stage fright. And I was like, now you're going to have to go out there and do this.
You picked a song that you were listening to a lot during this time, Animal by Jenny and Johnny. You describe it as a perfect piece of simple writing perfection. Tell me more.
It's a song that I often forget to say, I wish I had written this. When people ask me, what song do you wish you'd written? I don't know what they're talking about in this song. I love both of their voices. I love the way they harmonize. The melody just absolutely kills me every time I hear it. I love the strumming of the guitar, and I just think it is a perfect piece of songwriting.
Show your teeth to everyone. Don't let no one prove you wrong. You are an animal, an animal, an animal.
It's covered with goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
But this song is like this is like you have permission to be you and show yourself. Like
Yeah.
you say you don't know what it's about, but this is like
Yeah, I mean,
right there with what you're doing.
It does sound like, you know what, you can just go out there and say, no, this is me, and fuck off and do your thing and be you. And it's okay and it's good, right?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. But I also don't know if it's ironic. I don't know if they're being facetious. I don't know what angle the song's coming from. But yes, I was able to take it in that way. And I mean, you make it your own, right, with every song. It doesn't really matter what they meant. That album didn't, take over the world. I don't know how I even found out about it, but I'm glad I did.
Your last song is called Space Talk by Asha Puthli.
Yeah, Asha Puthli.
Came out in 1976, even though you said you only discovered it relatively recently.
Yeah, like a year or two ago.
Yeah, so why has this song become a part of the soundtrack of your life?
I discovered it when I was making this most recent record, The Art of the Lie, with Ivor Guest. And Ivor and I had so much fun during this record listening to music. I don't know why I discovered this track. Anyway, bass line.
Of course.
The bass line is ultra deluxe sexy. It's sort of a disco. It's like a slow groove. So, yeah, dig on this groove, motherfuckers.
Looking for love. Venus, please help me. SOS planet, I need someone right now.
I mean, that, as you can see, I'm once again completely covered with goosebumps because that's what beautiful music does to me. And that's one of those tracks for me. I mean, I'm just talking about joy when it comes to these songs. All of these songs, they bring incredible, unadulterated joy into my life, which is, we need that, right? I definitely still have a lot of shit to work through, and I still feel angry and ashamed that at the age of, I'm almost the age now. This year I will be the age that my mother was when she died, and I'm still dealing with all this shit. But, I am an optimist at heart. I do keep showing up. I know that I can be someone of use in this world if I just keep trying and just keep showing up. So for a long time with my depression, I couldn't take care of myself physically. That's one of the beautiful things about going through something like that is that when somebody reaches out to you, you can look at them with total love and kindness and calm and acceptance in your eyes and say, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I see you, and I'm not judging you. You're not going to be judged. You're safe, and this is a real thing that you're dealing with, and it's fucking tough. And you are going to emerge from this.
And that's the gift you give by talking about it and with your music, by singing about it and writing about it.
Yeah.
John Grant, thank you so much for sharing your 7 songs with me.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure, Sophie. Thank you.
Life in 7 Songs is a production from the San Francisco Standard. If you enjoyed this interview, you might also want to hear our episode with singer David Archuleta. He talks about walking away from the version of good he was handed and how music helped him find something better. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and like the show. It makes a big difference for us. Senior producer is Jasmine Morris. Our producers are Michelle Lands and Tessa Kramer. Theme music by Kate Davis and Zubin Hensler. Jess Hutchison created our show art. Our music consultant is Sarah Timbekshian. As always, you can find this guest's full playlist at sf.news/Spotify. I'm Sophie Behrman. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.